Good morning, Britt Simon here. Hope you're all well. Let's see if we can take some questions. See if any of you are around, have some questions for me on DV Lottery Matters. More than happy to take any questions. A couple of quick updates for you. So about 4 weeks ago, it was 4 weeks ago yesterday actually, that the government announced about the UK lawsuit about the UK winners, that some people have been selected and that people should go and check their results. This was a direct impact of the lawsuit that I filed against the government. Myself and Curtis Morrison, Red Eagle Law, have filed that lawsuit, and the lawsuit will continue. But for DV 2025, the impact was immediate. And I'm really thrilled to tell you that even this week, there's been at least a couple of cases where the visas have been issued. One was in London Embassy, one was in Abu Dhabi Embassy. And so, yeah, UK winners have gone from, just a simple situation where they get an email one Friday morning saying, hey, you should go check your results. And 4 weeks later, they've got Greencard lottery visas printed into their passports. I mean, it's just it's amazing. I'm very grateful that the government actually acted so well on these cases. They sped through DS-260 processing like I've never seen before. They set up interviews mainly at the London Embassy, but also one happened at Abu Dhabi Embassy. Because of the lawsuit, people were jumped ahead of queues, etc. I've got mixed feelings about that, but I'm very pleased for the lottery winners that were treated like that. You may see things differently if you're waiting for an interview somewhere, of course. But this is the power of a lawsuit. Lawsuits make things happen, and so I'm just very pleased and grateful that we were able to do that. Anyway, so that's one update. The other update that I wanted to give is just to show you the data as it stands as of last night. This is Zarthisius's site. This is DV25 data, of course. We can see that almost 42,000 people have been issued, 41,628 in the issued column, and then AP, which is administrative processing. That's a status which we now know is part of the visa printing process. So so we just add those numbers together. So that means about 41,850 or so people are issued. Now that is clearly going to mean, since we only have 3 weeks left, and I've been saying this for a few months now, there is going to be a massive underfilling of visas in DV25. They are going to waste several thousand visas. It's extremely unfortunate, but they basically built up this situation over a few months towards the end of the lottery. They could have made this better. They could have shot for the 52,000. For whatever reason, they decided not to. And once the travel ban also hit, that basically was the nail in the coffin. There's no way they could have got to, the full quota. So visas are not going to run out in DV25. Quite the opposite problem. There's going to be visas wasted that people would have been grateful for, but they'll be wasted. Anyway, so that's the numbers as we stand at the moment. There are 13,500 people still in ready status. As I've explained before, most of these now are no-shows from previous months. And so we are not going to see 13,000 people going for interview this month. That's not what that means. It just means there's a lot of people in there that are no-shows from previous months. There were only about 8,000 people scheduled for interview in September, and many of those would already have been done in this first week. So, we're going to get to about 46, 47,000. Maybe we'll see 5,000. The refused number is quite high. If you compare that with previous years, particularly when you consider the number of people scheduled, that number is quite high because of the travel ban. And the 221G number, which is normally coming down at this time of the year, is increasing. And again, that's to do with the travel ban. They're not clearing through some of the cases that would normally be cleared through the system in this month. Cases, a lot of those cases, for example, from Iran, Afghanistan, Yemen, those sort of cases that are sitting there, those would normally have a chance to be cleared at this time of year. They have no chance to be cleared right now because of the travel ban. So yeah, that's where we stand on the data. Let's see if I can take some questions, ask some questions for you. 2NL still getting case number AF2K. Don't know what that means. Tendong, you've got your visa. Good. Okay, and Ahmed, tomorrow's your interview and I'm nervous. Yep, you should be nervous. Nervous is good. Nervous is, is the right sort of thing to be when you're about to go to a life-changing interview. Now, all you need to do is just read the instructions, go over the documents that you've got, make sure you've prepared everything. That preparation will make you feel more confident. Also, just remember to tell the truth in your interview, Ahmed. Don't answer questions you're not asked. That's another piece of advice I would give you. Don't sit there and blab your mouth, and tell them your life story because they asked you what your date of birth was. Just answer the questions that you're asked. What's your date of birth? Here you go. Are you married? No. Are you married? Yes. Whatever is the truth, right? Just tell the truth and the truth will set you free, quite literally, in this situation. But don't elaborate on answers. Don't give them your life story. Don't tell them more than they need to know. Don't raise problems because you think that's the right thing to do. Don't do that. Just answer the questions that you are asked, and that's all you need to do. Okay. Tendong says, my question is, can I get married before traveling as I've been issued my visa? Tendong, you can. Technically, you can do that, but you've left this stupidly late. If you've already been issued your visa, your DV 2025, your opportunity to get your spouse issued with a visa is until the end of this month. So 3 weeks before the end of the month, you ask this question. I don't get why you would wait 18 months, presumably in love with some girl or whatever. Now you've got married. And now you want to add her to your visa all of a sudden in the last 3 weeks. I mean, yeah. So yeah, technically you can do it, but you've probably left it too late. In order to do that, you could have read my blog article on this where I talk about getting married. You could have Googled the words Brit Simon getting married, and that would have told you how to do it. But basically, you can contact the embassy and see if they're prepared to help you. They'll probably just they'll probably just point out that it's extremely late to do anything. So now your only other option is to go to America and then sponsor her for a green card later, which will take years. It's a very long, slow, expensive, complicated process now. You could have made it easy. I don't understand why you didn't do that. Patience. Hello, Simon. Welcome. Just a quick, simple question. Has it ever happened that someone with a case number AF70K gets scheduled for interview? If possible, what percentage can you give it? Okay. Yes, Patience. People with that case number have been scheduled for interview, and we've had people with case numbers of 100,000 and something, scheduled for interview and issued. In fact, I think the highest issued case in DV23 may have been about 122,000. The number itself is not as important as you think it is, or you're misunderstanding what it really means. Your number, 70,000, does not mean that 69,999 cases are in front of you. There is some number of cases in front of you, but we don't know precisely how many cases, right? And so the real question is, how many cases are in front of you, how many of those will apply, and so on. And there's some things we know, but there's a lot of stuff we don't know right now. We don't know how many selectees there are for DV26. So we don't know whether your case number is really that high or not. And, really you just need to wait and see. But to ask about, has this number ever been scheduled? That's kind of missing the point. And it shows that you don't really understand. what is the meaning of the number? The meaning of the number is a position in a line that has some number of people in front of you. But are there 10 people in front of you, or 10,000 people in front of you, or 100,000 people in front of you? You don't know, right? I don't know. I don't know because we don't know how many people are selected, right? Now, and every case number has more than one person on it on average, by the way, of course. In Africa, there are about 1.75 people on every case, real case, because the derivatives are attached to the same case number. So, so yeah, we don't know how many people are selected. We don't know how many people are in front of you. We can guess, but we don't know for sure how many derivatives there are on those cases in front of you, and so on. It's a bit early to know that. I'm hoping we will know about selectee numbers in the next visa bulletin, and that will go a long way to telling us whether your case number is too high, or risky range, or whatever. Okay. Right now, just hang on and wait, okay? Duck Socks says, Sir Simon, I want to ask about Casablanca. It was one of the greatest embassy those past years it started being the worst this year. And there's no 2NLs for DV26 up to now. Stressed out. Okay. It is frankly ridiculous to say that Casablanca became the worst embassy. That's just not true. There were embassies that did far, far worse than Casablanca. Casablanca disappointed people in the last couple of months. Yes, that's true. But that does not mean that they were by any means the worst embassy. And I get kind of frustrated with people that will only see things from their point of view. They cannot empathize or see the bigger picture to say that other embassies have been treating people badly also. They just see it from their own point of view, right? So from your point of view, yeah, you saw Casablanca misbehaving right at the end. But they did an amazing job prior to that, right? So if we look at the data, let's have a look at the data again. Let's have a look at issuances by post up to let's see, monthly, annually. Yeah, we can do that. Casablanca. This is official data up until. Actually, let's do this monthly issuances. Fiscal year 25, choose month. Let's get May. Come on. You know what? Let me switch over here to what we've got. Annual issuances. That would be better, right? Okay, 25. Let's have a look at this. DV25 region would be Africa. Morocco would be the country. So there were 1,000 people issued by official numbers up until the end of May of 25. 1,000 people. That's not nothing. That's not the performance of a lousy country or a lousy embassy or anything like that. That's a pretty good performance up until that point. It was later that things went wrong. If we look at the numbers of people that they were scheduling, and we have a look at Casablanca there, we can see they had, for example, in January they scheduled 370 people. In March they scheduled a few people. In May they scheduled people. In August they scheduled another 80. It was an inconsistent performance, particularly in the later months, but it wasn't nothing, right? It's not the worst, as you did say. Now, what does that mean in terms of DV26? Unfortunately, we can't really predict what will happen next based on past performance. We've had embassies who've been very good and then stopped working. We've had embassies who've been very bad and then suddenly started working well. What will Casablanca do in the future? I don't think they're going to just stop being one of the better embassies. They are one of the better embassies. They're one of the busier embassies. They issue a lot of cases. I don't think that's just going to stop. So, you've gone through 1 month of 2NLs for which you don't have all the data, and you've decided to write them off based on last year's performance. It's a bit early to write them off, frankly. Okay, so yeah, don't do that. Just keep your fingers crossed. Keep patient and optimistic. Hello, Joe GK. Joe from Virginia, serving the nation. Thanks for your help last year. Appreciate happy citizen. That's cool. Thank you, Joe. Good to speak to you, man. Waguti, another happy customer. Thank you so much for the guidance. My visa was approved from the US Embassy in Bangkok on 54K after moving in 4 embassies. Yeah, Waguti has written a really nice interview experience story. So yeah, that's well worth reading. If you Google the words Brett Simon interview experience, you're going to find a bunch of interview experience stories which are very worthwhile reading. And go ahead and read those. They're a help to prepare for your interviews and also for life in the USA. So please do go ahead and read those. I appreciate everyone that takes the time to write those up. Asante, please, what happened to someone who has won the American lottery and his number is 29074 and his interview location is Abidjan and Abidjan has schedule 56312 and he hasn't received any 2NL yet. Okay. Like, your style of writing is difficult to understand, unfortunately. Let's see. Cote d'Ivoire. Okay, yeah, they got inconsistent. You don't mention which region you're from. I'm going to assume you're from Africa. Yes, they've scheduled up to about 56,000, yes. But they were inconsistent. Now, let's be realistic here. In reality, the chances of any embassies accepting any more 2NLs for DV25 are almost zero at this point, right? There isn't going to be any large batches of 2NLs going out. There's some people being scheduled because of the UK lawsuit. People have been scheduled, for this week and next week and so on. There are people who've been scheduled at embassies throughout this month, but I don't think we're going to see KCC suddenly, issuing a whole bunch of new 2NLs. So the reality is you were bypassed for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know whether it's because you submitted your DS-260 late, or perhaps your case was very complicated to background check or something. I don't know. Did you try moving embassies? Is that what happened? I don't really know. I can't really tell you why, but I can tell you it's probably going to be the end for you because we've got 3 weeks left, and they've already scheduled October interviews for DV26. They're about to start scheduling interviews for November after the visa bulletin, which will probably be published this week. So it's not looking good for you, I'm afraid, Asante. But there you go. Okay. Nicola says, hi, Simon. Obviously, nobody knows for sure, but do you reckon E33K will get its shot for DV26? That would be a complete guess, right? Have no information on which to make that guess. It's way too early. You don't know how many people are selected. You don't know. I mean, we sort of know the highest case numbers because of the survey. But we have to confirm that. We don't know the distribution of cases before your numbers. There's a lot of information we don't know. So to just randomly pick from the sky some answer about EU33K would be very unwise. And I'm not that unwise, frankly. So there you go. Avdux, I hope when they stop transferring between embassies to put pressure on slow embassies to work well. Yeah, I hope so too. It's fine for the government to say you are only going to be able to interview at your local embassy if that embassy behaves well. If the embassy doesn't behave well, it's not a surprise people want to move. So it really is up to the government to fix this properly in a fair way. Will they do that? I don't know. I've got my fingers crossed, but I don't know whether they're going to do that. Okay. Happy Kids Cartoon. Hey, Mr. Brid. How are you? By considering the ban on Iran and Afghanistan, what is your prediction on case number AS 2026-17K? Again, same question as the 33K question. I don't have the data. Now, obviously, yes, Asia is largely impacted, heavily impacted by the travel ban. But we don't know that the travel ban is going to stay in place for the whole year. We don't know if other countries will be added to it, taken away from it, or whatever. We have no sort of idea about that. We don't know the selectee numbers. There's so much we don't know. So again, why bother just picking some answer from the sky to say, my prediction for your case number? That would just make me an unwise person. Do you think I'm unwise? No. Apple Animal. Hi, Simon. If I lose my passport that I used when filling my DS260 and I replace the passport, do I need to edit my DS260 and add the new passport? No, you don't. Strictly speaking, you don't. You could do if you could do that if you wanted to. Generally speaking, if your number is a medium high number or a high number, you may as well edit your DS260. It doesn't cause any delays. But if you don't want to do that, you can just turn up at the interview with your new passport, and that'll be fine too. Okay, no big deal. Okay. Nat Nail says my case number is 3K from Ethiopia, DV26, and I didn't get 2NL for October. I'm waiting for November. Can there be any delays for November if 2.6K are already scheduled for interview for October? Yeah, you won't be scheduled until your DS260 is processed. Doesn't matter about your number necessarily. It doesn't matter that other people with a higher number have been scheduled in front of you. That's not important. What it's about is whether your embassy are taking cases, and if your embassy are taking cases, is your case processed or not? So, will it be in November? I don't know. You could email KCC and ask them, or you could just remain patient and see when you get your 2NL. It's your choice. Don't worry about it though. The green cards given out in November are just as good as those ones given out in October. Same thing for December green cards. They're the same green cards, right? So don't worry. Avdux again says the next visa bulletin probably next week, but I think it will be repeated for Africa. There's no 2NLs up to now for many African countries, and they're starting slower than the last year. You're grabbing data from thin air, of course. When you say they're starting slow compared to the last year, you don't know that. I don't know that. None of us really know how many 2NLs they've sent. But yes, I tend to agree with your underlying thought here that the initial visa bulletin numbers will probably be repeated, particularly in a couple of those regions where it's really high, like Asia, 10,000. I'd be surprised if they increase from that. So we'll probably see those numbers repeated for a month or 2 months. So let's wait and see. We'll have a look. Have a look at it. But yes, I'm not getting the impression that that they've scheduled all the cases up to 17.5 or whatever it is in Africa, or 10,000 in Asia. I'm certainly not getting that impression. So I think they'll probably repeat the numbers again. Hi, Simon. I'm an SA selectee in DV26. Case number is close to 4,000. I have a chance. You may have a chance. South America is going to be an interesting one. Now, again, I don't have the selectee data to sort of, to be sure about this, but I do know that Cuban entries were selected in DV26, and they shouldn't have been. Cuba was made ineligible for DV26, and as part of my lawsuit against the government in the UK, in the UK case, I've put forward evidence of that mistake, the fact that Cuban entries are in there. And I expect the government to react to that. Now, it's not that I'm trying to ruin the chances of Cubans. Those chances shouldn't have been there in the first place. Those Cuban selectees shouldn't have been selected in the first place. Also, those Cuban selectees are on travel ban right now, so they didn't really have much of a chance anyway. But I think that if they've selected a lot of people from Cuba in DV26 in South America, then South America, the other countries in South America have a chance of, even if you've got high case number, you may have more chance. Now, I don't know the numbers. We don't know how many people are selected from each country and so on. So I don't know how big a problem this really is that we're talking about. How many people did they select from Cuba, and how far has that driven the numbers, right? So we have to wait and see till we've got some data, which, as I say, I think we'll probably get that data in this next visa bulletin, which will be published this week. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay. Hi, sir. With DVAS 2025 still have a chance in next update? There are no more updates. The final visa bulletin that was published for DV25 was in July. There are no changes to those numbers. That wasn't changed in August, wasn't changed in September, and it won't be changed in October. It won't be changed in September, rather. So there are no updates to that. The numbers that we see as current, that's it. That's the numbers. Lucky boy, I'm dual citizenship, but one of my other passport not added in DS260. It was not banned, but after I become current, banned came out. I made my other non-banned passport. Is that a problem? My interview is next week. No, as long as it's genuine, this other passport that you have is genuine, real, authentic. We know that they have issued visas to people with, from banned countries where those people have got a different passport. That has happened, and it's the most likely exemption you can get. So, it could be okay as long as you've not lied or obtained that second passport through any form of fraud. That's the biggest thing. If you have obtained that passport through fraud, then I would suggest you don't present it, and I wouldn't even go to the interview. And if you're genuinely a dual citizenship person and you've got the second passport, and that second passport was legitimately obtained and not obtained through lying in any way, then great, go ahead, you'll be fine. Okay. Mary says, I'm a DV26 selectee, and I'm a widow. What documents should I prepare for the interview? Okay, so Mary, you're going to need to show your marital status proof. Generally speaking, that means that you're going to need to show a marriage certificate and a death certificate for your spouse. Particularly if that death occurred since the DV lottery entry. They're going to want to know, your marital status. So that's one of the things that you'll prepare. You should also just read the instructions very carefully to figure out what other documents you may need, right? You definitely need your birth certificate, your wedding documentation, the death certificate of your spouse, your passport, of course. Those are the basic documents that you're going to need. You're going to need your education documents if you're the principal selectee, which of course you must be. You're going to need your education documents and so on. You may need some other things, but reading the instructions will lead you to what documentation you need. Okay. So make sure you read those. Okay. Godfrey, hey Simon, I have one question on my passport. I'm using Godfroid in French, and my academic is Godfrey. Do you think it will cause my visa to be denied? No, your academic documents do not establish your name or your date of birth, and people get very worried about what it says on these academic documents. The main issue there is that the consular officer believes these documents that you're presenting are your documents, right? And if they've got a different variation of the name on them, maybe there's going to be some suspicion about that. But it's not really casting suspicion on your name. It's just about the education documents. Are they yours? And so think how you can support those education documents as being yours. Have you got a photo of your school attendance, you at a sports team or something, to show that you went to college there? Is there some other way you can prove that these education documents are your education documents, right? That's really all you need to think about. Okay, good luck. Chris, I am DV26 AF 12,000. Do I have a chance to get an interview this year? I mean, yes, you're already current. So you're not giving me any information on which I would say yes or no. So yes, you've got a chance, right? Nicholas says, would you tell me about Eritrea? Is it banned? Yeah, I believe it is. So let's see the travel ban countries. Let's just check that out. I sometimes need to check this. Hang on. 6 countries. Ching, ching, ching. Let's see. I think it's on the partial ban list, right? Oh man. Ugh, horrible webpage. Let's see. Travel ban for 19 countries. Yeah. So including Eritrea. So Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. And then partial suspension for 7 further countries, which is Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. Now, people get confused about this partial ban, right? As far as DV lottery is concerned, that's a full ban. The partial aspect relates to certain non-immigrant visas that are still allowed from those 7 countries. But as far as DV lottery is concerned, it's a full ban, right? So there are 19 countries that are banned, and Eritrea is one of them. Okay, so I'm sorry about that. Friday 21, DV 26, AS 24,000. Already lose hope, thinking my number is too high because I don't want to waste time and money. Now DV 26, first month they called 10,000. Should I reconsider and continue? There's no way I can tell you how high your number really is. It's a matter of how many people are selected, and then also how many people are travel banned. And there are a lot of people in Asia that are going to be travel banned, right? Now, the travel ban doesn't mean that they can never, like, those people will still be processed. Whether you're from a travel banned country or not, the DS-260s will still be processed. The interviews will be scheduled, and so on. And the travel ban could be removed at some point, right? So we don't really know what's going to happen. But personally, I wouldn't have given up so soon without knowing information. So wait until we got the selectee numbers, and when we see that, we can see how many people are banned and so on. Okay. Juliet, can I change my host after being issued a visa? Yeah, after you've been issued the visa, nobody gives a damn anymore where you go and live, right? You don't have to go and live with the host you said you were going to live with. Just be careful though, because unless you change the address of the American address where you plan to be, your green card and social security number will be sent to that address that was already on your DS-260. But the government don't try and check up that you're living with the host that you said you were going to be living with. Nobody checks that. They don't care, right? Once you've got your visa, you're on your own. You can do whatever you want to do. There are no paperwork, travel documents you need to travel from state to state or to move around or to make a different decision about where you want to live. Nobody cares, right? So you'll be fine. Patrick says, tuned in from Kenya. Good work, Simon. Waiting for the opening of DV27. By the way, Simon, waiting for your DV photo tool. And funnily enough, you've got you've got the domain exactly right. DV photo tool. There's a hint. So yeah, that's interesting. So yes, the photo tool will be released, I think, in about a week's time, roughly. So I don't have a precise date yet. They're still working on it, but I've got access to a sort of a copy of a copy of that at the moment. It's pretty exciting stuff. I'm just very excited about what that's going to do. I'm very hopeful that that's going to cut down the number of people that get disqualified. 57% of all the case numbers in DV25 in the early number ranges, in the number of ranges of selectees, 57.45% were disqualified, right, before the announcements of the results. We know about 10% of those 57%, so around about, a sixth of those were disqualified for fraudulent reasons, double entries and that sort of thing. But that means that there's a lot of people, nearly 50% of people, who are submitting their entries, and their entries are being disqualified before the announcements, even though they're getting low case numbers. So they're getting case number like Africa number 10, and then they get disqualified because their photo doesn't meet the requirements. So I'm very excited to produce an app, a web page that is going to help people with producing a valid photo. And so, yeah, that's going to be a life-changing, game-changing situation for those people that choose to use that service. It'll cost a few bucks. I can't do it for free, unfortunately. We spend a lot of money on hosting and developing the application and all of the AI stuff. We spend a lot of money on that, so I can't do it for free. But I'm doing it at a price that is lower than any other site I can find, and lower than I think you would pay even to just walk into a photographer and get some passport photos made. So I'm just excited about that because I think it's a really good thing. And I'm already on a high this year with with the UK lawsuit. So I'm just full of happiness with actual impacts I'm making for people. So the photo tool is going to be another one of those. So thanks for talking about that. I'm waiting for DV27 to open too. I consistently get questions about whether the passport rule is going to be in DV27 or not. I don't know, is the honest answer. We'll have to wait and see. The public comment period is still open, which technically means that they're too late to implement the passport rule for DV27 if they follow their own rules. Could they break their own rules? Yeah, they could. So they could try anyway. So they may try and implement it. We just don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Okay. Now, my birth certificate was laminated and has some damage. When I make it authenticate, can that get me into 221G? 222G is not a thing. 221G. Yeah, there are some places, some embassies that don't like laminated documents. They see that as a way of people try and cover up fraudulent documents, and so they don't like laminated documents. Whether your embassy is one of those or not, or whether they'll have a problem with your documents or not, I don't know. But lamination is just something that they don't like. They prefer to feel the document rather than have that laminated so they can't feel it. Okay. How long is the maximum time it takes to process in the DS260? There is no real maximum time. I mean, some people did not get their DS260s processed at all this year in DV25 when they submitted late, like after DV26 cases were starting to submit. So if you don't want to wait till very late like that. The amount of time it takes varies by case. Some cases, will get additional background checking. Other cases won't get that. And so two DS260s submitted on the same day don't necessarily get completed on the same day. It takes a different amount of time for each case. So yeah. I can tell you at the other end of the scale, cases for the UK winners were processed in around about 36 to 48 hours. They just did these unbelievably quickly. So yeah, I mean, they can go fast if they want to. But of course, the risk profile for someone from the UK is going to be less than the risk profile for someone from another country, let's say in the Middle East. And so, the DS260 processing depends on the risk profile of that case. Okay. Luckman, I'm a DV26 winner from a banned country. The US Embassy in Freetown said, you will be adjudicated based on the nationality you listed in the application. Do they mean the DS260? Don't listen to that comment. You will be adjudicated based on the documents you provide at the interview, not on what you chose in the application. Your chargeability country is important. That's what you chose in the original DV entry, and in the DS260, you've documented your country of birth and that sort of thing. But whether you're banned or not, you already know you're banned. But whether you're banned or not is based on your country of birth / nationality, right? And if you've got a second nationality, then that can be helpful to you if that second nationality is from a non-banned country. So yeah, there you go. Sam says, when you arrive on the USA airport, must the host be there to pick you up? for you to be allowed to exit. No, they don't give a damn whether the host is there or not. Try and understand. This is not, America is not a place where you're going to be monitored and looked after and helped and that sort of thing. When you arrive at the airport, you're on your own, buddy. You go through that immigration. Once you come through immigration, you're on your own, right? So if you have someone to pick you up there, great. If you don't, and you have to get on a bus or whatever, that's your problem. Nobody cares, right? Nobody is there helping you, and nobody is there monitoring and said, you said you were going to live with Joe, who lives at 23 Anytown Street, and Joe is not here to pick you up. So they don't care. There's no one going to be. They're too busy. The Border Patrol officers are not sitting there waiting with you at the luggage counter, waiting for someone to come and pick you up outside. They're not monitoring your every move. This is a big country. 340 million people live here. Nobody's got time to sit and watch your silly butt, whether you've arranged to have someone picked up, coming to pick you up or not. I giggle because it's one of the funnier questions I've been asked. So no, they don't care. You're on your own, Sam. It's a free country. They say that a lot. It's a free country, and that's a double-sided coin. You're free to do what you want, but you're also free to look after yourself. And if you fail, that's up to you. If you fail to arrange a lift from the airport, that's your problem. Nobody else is going to care about that. Okay, Zainab, my case number is 8199, but R did not receive no email yet. Okay. Okay, not much I can say about that, particularly as I don't even know your region, your embassy, nothing else. Nicola, can you get married before the interview, but after you fill out the DS-260? For example, 1.5 months before the interview, so that we don't reopen the DS-260 that close to the interview. Asking about DV-26. Look, if you've won the lottery and you're in a relationship where you are properly in love and you want to be together and everything else, it isn't normal for people to just wait and wait and wait to later get married. Normal people would think, I've won the lottery. That's wonderful. I want to take my beloved wife, my wife to be. Let's go and get married so that I can add my spouse on my DS-260M process. What I wouldn't do is, I won the lottery. I'm going to wait 9 months or 10 months, and then I'll think about whether I'm going to marry this girl or not, right? So if you won the lottery, get married as soon as you can and add that person to your DS-260. That's what normal people would do, okay? And when you do things that are not normal, it makes the consular officers rightfully suspicious. Why did you wait a year and a half before marrying this girl if you were so in love? Now, okay, maybe you only just met, a few months ago, and that was after the win. You could still add her to the case, or add him to the case, but just make sure the relationship is genuine, and then do the things that normal people would do in that situation, which is going and getting married and adding that person to the DS-260. That's what normal people would do. Okay. Any update on the travel ban for the 36 additional countries? No. And I don't really think that any of us should expect that the government will do something on the various dates when they've said they will do something. So, for example, the 9th of September, a lot of people think that the travel ban will be taken down on the 9th of September because 90 days, lead to that date. I don't think that's going to happen. The government are not setting deadlines for themselves to do certain things by. If they're busy that day, if they want to, do something some days later, there's nothing stopping them doing that. They are in control of their own schedules, and they don't have to observe, what you think they have to do based on your assumption about what it said in the announcement of the travel ban. They don't have to observe those deadlines at all. So why would they? No updates anyway on the 36 additional countries. We just have to wait and see. Erez. Hi, Simon. Thanks for all the work. I'm a DV26 winner with a case number around AS 14,000. Could submitting an entry for DV27 negatively affect my chances in DV26? Absolutely not. No. Anybody can enter DV27 that is from an eligible country, of course, and there's no impact to your DV26 case. Right. So by all means enter. No problem at all with that. There's no connection between the things. Okay. Nicola, another question. Do you think that the World Cup and probably the increased number of other visa interviews can slow down the process for DV26? I don't think the World Cup is really that big. I keep getting this question. I'm surprised at the question, I have to say. I don't think that's going to be sort of massively increasing tourist numbers in the way that you think it is. Tourism numbers are sharply down since Trump came in anyway. Trump has basically made America less attractive to tourists, and tourism numbers are sharply down. We haven't even seen official numbers on that yet, but I can tell you for a fact, I mean, having flown on planes, etc., there are less people coming in this direction towards America than there normally are. Flight costs are down and so on because less people are buying the tickets and so on. So, so yes, there'll be some people who come for the World Cup, and some of those people will need visas, but it's not going to be that big of a deal. I don't think you're going to notice that in the big picture. Honestly, I don't think so. Eric says, if my case number is too high, can I still apply DV27 as a backup plan? Yes, same question. Yes, you should. Nicholas, could you tell me about Eritrea's country? I'm waiting for an interview. Are they allowing for Eritrean? Right, Eritreans are travel banned at the moment. So you will still be invited to an interview. You could attend your interview, but unless you've got another passport from another nationality that is not banned, you'll be refused at interview. So you've really got to think about that, right? Edem Doe says, Simon, I'm DV26, AF 15K. Please, how easy will it be to bring my child to the US after I've received my visa and migrated to the US? I've indicated that she will join me later. Generally speaking, this is a horrible idea. Generally speaking, people don't understand the difference between bringing derivatives on the DV lottery process versus bringing them through family immigration later. Family immigration to bring your child can take 2 to 5 years. Okay, let that sink in. 2 to 5 years. It's a more complicated process. It's more expensive. You'll probably need to use a lawyer to make sure you get it right. You'll wait much, much longer. Do you really want to be separated from your family for 2 to 5 years because you didn't put the derivatives through your DV lottery case? DV lottery is unusually easy, fast, simple, cheap. It's not an expensive process, comparatively speaking. So, so when you choose to not go down that easy path, and you choose instead to go down the difficult path, it makes me wonder what's going on in your head. I understand it's expensive. I understand it's it's somewhat daunting, but it's better to bring the kids, bring the derivatives to the interview, get them their green card, bring them to America, and then if you want, send them back to live with family for a little while, right? And then they can come back later with their green card already in their hand. That would be my advice. But it's your choice. Theon, I don't think you understand how vital you are to the world, Simon. You are a godsend. Thank you for saying that. That's a very lovely thing to say, Theon. And I do understand how important I am. I tell my wife every day. Kellyanne, for those who have received DB from Nepal, why haven't you received your second one yet while the visa bulletin was issued in August? DB, I don't know. I don't know what you're asking there, really, Kellyanne. Not quite sure what you're asking. Ilapen, hi, Simon, sir. How likely is it for Nepal to have 15,000 cases compared to Asia numbers with Iran and Afghanistan banned? 15,000 cases? No. Nepal won't have 15,000 cases. Nepal tends to get around about 3,700, 3,800 selectees every year, which represents about half of that in terms of number of cases. In terms of case numbers, they can go up to 15,000 or 10,000 or so on, because there are not every case number is a real case number. Some of them are holes, okay? And the holes are created because of that photo situation I was discussing earlier. A lot of holes are created because people don't take the photos correctly. So we don't know yet what the case numbers are going to be. We don't know the selectee numbers. We don't have the data yet. There's a lot of stuff we don't know for DV26. I would suggest just being patient a little bit and seeing, what that situation is. Now, remember, Nepal is unlikely to benefit very much from the travel ban in other countries like Iran, Afghanistan, and Yemen, because Nepal already gets pretty close to the 7% cap each year. And so it can't do better than best. It's one of the best already. So it can't do better than that. So the impact from the travel ban in Asia will be mainly felt in the rest of Asia. The countries that are not banned, not Nepal, the rest of the countries, they'll do better because of the travel ban, probably, while the travel ban is in place. Okay. Mommanyi, I think. Any hope for 2NL for Africa this month for current cases, especially Nairobi Embassy DV26? I don't know. I believe Nairobi took some cases already for October, but I'm not 100% certain. But yeah, they'll probably take some November cases. I don't know exactly what their numbers will be. We'll have to wait and see. We won't have the data to sort of support any of those guesses until January 1. That's when we get the data for SIAC. The database just isn't ready until then, which means that the DV charts, the data we get from Xarthisius, none of that will be available until January 1. Okay. Every year on January 1, Xarthisius stays up late at night, from December 31st to January 1, making sure we've got the data. He sits there and has a little drink, I should imagine, sees the new year in, and make sure we've got all the data as soon as we can. So, appreciate him for that. My case number is in the queue of about 500, which was the current feasibility in August. I haven't received the second letter yet. Why is that? Will it be until September 6th? When will it arrive? Okay, Kellyanne, I think we've already answered this. Basically, you cannot be scheduled until your DS260 is processed. And in the early part of the year, there's a lot of people whose DS260 is still being processed. That's partly why they made the feasibility numbers so high in the first month, or so. Because a lot of those people, let's say for Asia, a lot of those people who are current up to case number 10,000 will not be processed yet, and therefore can't be interviewed. So they make a lot of people current, but not many of those people can be interviewed. So we have to wait. We have to be patient. This is it's a process of patience. It's a test of patience. So yeah, it's brutal, but it is like that. FM says, hello, Simon. October is around the corner. Taking time for pitch taking soon. Looking forward to your image app. Absolutely, it will be released just in time. I wish it had been a little bit earlier, but because we could be playing around with it. But it's a good app, I have to say, and so it's worth waiting for. So there's no worries about that. It takes you a few minutes to make a photo. You'll be in plenty of time for the entry period. Okay. Will Nairobi Embassy be overwhelmed? Currently, they are not performing good, and 3 countries have been added to the take interviews there, making them 5 countries. We'll have to wait and see. Some of those people, are not doing well in terms of their own countries, and so yes, Nairobi is picking up the slack. But that really hasn't changed. That's been the same way for quite some time. Nairobi is a very big, powerful embassy. They're able to take a lot of cases. They can take hundreds of cases if they want to. They can take hundreds of cases in a month. So it's really up to them to decide how they schedule that work. I hope they'll do well. Okay. Sierra Leone is not part of the ban. Hang on a minute. Let me just read this again. I thought it was. Sierra Leone, yeah, it's part of the ban. So Sierra Leone is not part of the ban, but it is restricted in some visa area. I played the DV26, but I didn't win. But this time around, I have put everything in place to win DV. Good. Winning the DV is a random chance, right? So as long as your photo is good, then you've got a good chance of selection. But that chance of selection is something like 1 in 100 years, right? So it's not a guaranteed plan. But Sierra Leone is travel banned right now. So will it stay travel banned? I don't know. But from a DV lottery point of view, which is an immigrant visa type, immigrant visas are banned for Sierra Leone. Okay, that doesn't mean you shouldn't enter the lottery. You should enter the lottery because who knows what the situation will be in 2 years' time. So don't forget, DV27. Well, the entry period will be in October of this year and probably the beginning of November, right? Then results will be out in May of next year. That's in 2026. And then interviews for that would take place between October the 1st of 2026 until September 30th of 2027. So that's a long time, right? It's a 2-year wait for some people from the point when they actually enter the lottery. So who knows what the world will look like in 2 years' time, right? We might have Nicolas Maduro in the White House by then. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Hi, Simon. Is background checks being done for all the cases, or it is only when they suspect something? They use a risk-based approach, right? There's certain factors on the DS260s that imply, a high level of risk. So if, for example, you've got certain jobs in technology or bio industries or nuclear warfare industries, obviously, or missiles or something like that, any of those sort of jobs, that's one thing. Middle East travel history, work history, residence history in the Middle East, particularly from Muslim majority countries. Those things tend to get more of a higher chance, a higher risk as far as the government is concerned. So it's a combination of factors. Sometimes it's just a random thing where your name is similar to someone who's on a terror watch list of some sort. And it can be. Sometimes it's extremely frustrating because it's extremely random, or it feels random, and so we don't quite know sometimes. Why those things happen. If you want to read a little bit more about the precise details about that, well, number one, we don't have the precise details, but there is an article on my blog. If you Google the words Brit Simon name check, you'll get to an article that was done a few years ago, but it's still, largely speaking, it shows the way that their checks work, right? And it's not just about name, as I mentioned. It's name, it's what you do for a living, where you've traveled, where you've worked, where you've lived, and so on. So, but yeah, Google that. Google Brit Simon name check. Okay. Lemec, what happens when the DV lottery from one of the banned countries? So again, you can still enter from the banned countries. You can still be selected from the banned countries. You can still submit your DS260, and that DS260 will be processed. You will be scheduled for an interview. All of that is possible from the banned countries. What's not possible is that you get a visa and are allowed to enter the USA. So, but the ban is on entry, and so Curtis Morrison is fighting at the moment to try and get the right of people to have their visas issued, even though those people can't enter the USA at the moment. And that's because he hopes that the travel ban will be removed within some period of time, and therefore those people can then use those visas. It's a bit of a high risk strategy, but it's a possibility for some people to work that way. It did in DV 2020. Whether it will work again now or not, we have to wait and see. Anne says, hi, I'm Anne. Can I change my name in birth certificate because it does not match with all other documents? Well, I question why it doesn't match, right? Is the birth certificate you've got accurate? If it is, you shouldn't be changing details on it because that's a record in time, right? It's a point in time. If your name has changed for various reasons, perhaps through marriage, then you just need to show documentation on who you are compared to that birth certificate. So I was born as Anne, and then I got married and my last name changed because of marriage and so on. Here's my marriage certificate. That proves that there is my maiden name, here's my new name. Or I changed my name for whatever reason, here's the documentation about that, right? You don't go back and change your birth certificate. That's not the way normal people do things. That's not the way normal countries do things. So, I know documentation standards are not the same in every country, but try and think like Americans think when it comes to documents, because it will be weird if you don't do that, right? Annette says, hi Simon, thank you for the Q&A sessions. You're welcome. I'm learning a lot. Can I get the link to the Telegram group, please? Yes. Let me put that in the chat. We'll do it for the DV26 Telegram group. Bing. I'm just going to put that in the comment. So that's the Telegram group for DV26. And, you'll find a community of people there, not just me, but other people as well answering questions. And there's about 1,000 members in that group right now, which is fairly small. But it will probably build up over the next few months to 4,000 or 5,000 people, which is pretty normal for our Telegram groups each year. You can also ask me questions directly on britsimonsays.com. And it's not that other people are not accurate, but some other people sometimes give inaccurate answers in those Telegram groups and other places. Sometimes they're well-meaning. Sometimes people just don't understand the importance of accuracy in this process. So you need to be a bit careful about that. Okay. Armel says, do you have an idea if an update of the travel ban will be made this September or not? When exactly, and what countries will be added or deleted? I don't know. I don't know whether they're going to make any changes in September or not. I don't know whether they'll add some countries, take some countries away. I have no idea. How would I know how a madman like Trump is going to operate? I don't know what he's going to do. He's got no idea what he's going to do. How would I know? He's not talking to me. Stephen, hi, Brit Simon, thank you for your consistent information on DV Lottery. You're very welcome. Marcus says, what a perfect advice for my case. My son and I play DV Lottery single and won. His mother and I live together along with him. Is it possible for my son and I to go as single parent? Yes, you can. You can go as a single parent situation. You could also marry his mother and you could go with the mother too, right? Just a thought. Marcus. So yeah, but you can, you can say, I mean, you've done the right thing. If you were unmarried, I'm assuming you were unmarried, and that's why you didn't include your son's mother, right? If you were unmarried, then you're correct to not have included her, but you were correct to include your son. So so you entered as single, you won, but you had your son on there. That's the right way to do things. Now it's then up to you whether you want to include your son in the process or not. Okay, it's really up to you. And obviously the mum, by the way, the mother may not agree to letting the kid go to America, right? You have to consider that. You may need some documentation at the interview that says you've got the right to take the child to America. Okay. Yanis, hey Simon, when will they announce the DV27? And did they introduce the rule with a valid passport? Don't know about the passport, whether that rule will be in place or not. The announcement of DV27 will probably be in the late part of September. The last couple of years, they've been announcing it pretty late, like a week or 2 weeks at most before the entry period. And the entry period is probably going to be early October. There is a small chance that they could delay the entry period to give them more time to implement the passport rule. but we have to wait and see. But yeah, I would expect, typically I'd expect in about 2 weeks' time they'll announce the DV lottery entry period. Okay. Mike says, hi Simon, no Kenyan DV26 winner has received 2NL yet, including low case numbers. How do you know that, Mike? Do you know them all? Or are you just making an assumption? I don't know. So it may be true. It may not be true. I don't know. I don't have the data. Hopefully you're talking with some authority from a group of Kenyans, and so you would know, but I don't know for 100% that's true. Okay. Edem says, the date of birth on my educational certificates doesn't correspond with the date of birth on my passport and birth certificates, which I actually have the correct dates. Will it be a challenge for me? No, I did discuss this earlier. This is fairly common. People, for whatever reason, have a different date of birth or a different name on their educational certificates. Those documents, the educational documents, are not the source of truth for your date of birth or for your name, right? But you just have to prove that that is your educational document. That's basically the only issue there. Okay. Hi, Britton. Thanks for all you do. Any idea if Yaoundé has started sending 2NLs for DV26 winners? I don't know. Don't have the data. My case number was available last month, but I still didn't get the 2NL. Is it okay, or should I contact KCC? You can contact KCC and ask if your DS260 has been processed and see what answer they give you, right? You could do that. But then you need to consider, is your embassy scheduling cases or not as well, okay? Based on how Nairobi behaved, says Joseph, for DV25, would you recommend Nairobi again confidently, given that 3 more countries have been added to be supported by Nairobi USA Embassy? It's too early to say. I think it's a good embassy, and I've been confident over the last couple of years, but they're not perfect. So I think if you had a low case number, for example, then you would probably be more confident than if you have a very high case number and you're also assigned to Nairobi. But we have to wait and see what they do, right? They have the capacity if they choose to use it. It's really a matter of their choice. Okay, let's do a couple more. Let's see if I can catch up with some of these. We'll do a couple more quick fire ones here. Hello, Simon. Mr. Simon, it's been a while since I watched your videos. Where have you been, Ethio Music? Any update regarding DV27, particularly in terms of rules and regulations? No, I'm not expecting any changes, but we have to wait and see what the official announcement says. Okay. If you have a host, is it compulsory that you'd be asked for an affidavit of support? No, it's not compulsory, but it might happen. The consular officer might ask for that. Okay. Hi, Simon. 2024 winner, relocated to USA this week, living in Miami. Thanks for all the help, sir. I used to live in Miami for a while. I was in the Doral area of Miami. It's very nice. I like it there. Chet is looking like we'll be issued DV lottery green cards in October. Is there any way to extend the 6 months to activate the card? We won't be ready to move until July 2027. No, what I suggest you do, though, is you should really have delayed your interview, but you should delay your interview. That would probably be a smart thing to do. But anyway, you activate towards the end of that 6 months time, when your visa is ready. Then you can leave the country for 6 months. So if you get your visas, let's say in October, that means around about March you could enter the USA. Then you can leave the USA, come back out in March. You just go there for a visit. You come back straight out. Maybe you go again in September, around about September, October time. And then you make your final entry in July of 27. No big deal. You can do that, right? Just with a couple of trips. And the trips are useful because you can go and figure out where you want to live. You can make some contacts. You can be looking into jobs and that sort of thing. So, so there's a way to handle that. But I probably would have advised you to delay your interview. But it's okay if you don't. Mr. Britt Simons, my brother was AF 29,000, but the US Embassy in Abidjan just released 2NL from AF 32 to 52, ignoring my brother's case number. Is it intentional or is it a technical? Does it matter why? The point is it's happened. I don't know why it happened. I don't know whether it was intentional or technical or whatever, but the point is it can't be fixed or it won't be fixed. So it's happened, and now it's just a matter of acceptance, really. Lemek, from the partial travel ban country, which is Zambia precisely, and when I win the DV lottery, will I still make it to the US? Well, you haven't won the DV lottery yet. It's a bit unwise to be sort of, worried about it at this point. So enter the lottery, see if you win, and if you do, hopefully the travel ban will have been removed by then. Okay. Yogra says, hello, sir. I'm from Nepal. My visa got issued. Everything went smooth. Thank you so much for the guidance. I've changed my sponsor. How do I change the mailing address of the SSN and Greencard now? Very important you do this. As you enter the USA, when you're going through the immigration point for the first time, they take that brown envelope from you, and you have to let them know that you need to change the address in the DS260. So, make sure that they understand, and then that will be updated, and that will change where your green card and your social security number is sent. But you have to be politely forceful to get that changed, okay, while you're going through immigration. Make sure that you get that done. How can someone from a banned country get a visa DV? By having a second nationality, basically. If you're from country A and country A is banned, but you have a passport from country B and country B is not banned, then you can be approved for the visa and you can travel on that second passport. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Simon. I want to know if those banned countries are eligible to participate in the upcoming DV lottery. Yes, they are. People can enter from that lottery and then from those countries, and then hopefully the travel ban will be taken away by the time those people are processing. Can't be sure about that, but that's a possibility. But you can certainly enter. Okay. Yog says, can you make a video about what to buy or take things with you before you are coming to the US? It's kind of a personal thing, right? What do you want to take with you to the USA? I'm not sure I've got much to say about that. It's a personal thing for you. You're from Nepal, I guess, so there's going to be certain things which you will value and you'll want to take with you. I don't know what that will be. Hello, City of Marriage indicated on my DS260 form is different from my marriage cert. Can that cause any harm? I did customary in Kenya. Documentation is important, right? They may or may not notice the city of your marriage on your document being different. It's kind of weird. I don't know why it's different. But, you'll have to, unfortunately, you have to just see what happens at the interview. I can't tell you for sure that's going to go one way or the other, right? Is it true that local embassies will start scheduling DV interviews like US Embassy in Kampala? I don't know about Kampala. I don't know what you've heard, but you'll have to wait and see as to what they're doing in each of those local embassies. Some embassies are doing work. Some other embassies are being closed. So if it's a small, very minor embassy, it may be closed. Okay. Hi, Mr. Simon. My case was current last month, but I still didn't get 2NL. My case number is EU 2026 600 something. Okay. You already asked this question, I think, but just need to be patient. It's probably because your DS260 is not processed yet. Okay. Hi, sir. Thanks. Firstly, thanks for your job. Imagine a passport sent to the visa printing while the country is later sent on travel ban. Will that person receive the passport with the visa printed inside? Unfortunately, some people were in that position when the travel ban was implemented this year. Some people had visas and then they received their passports. They had the visas, the announcement came out, and then they received their passports and the visa was cancelled. That shouldn't have happened. The announcement about the travel ban actually said specifically no visas would be revoked, but they chose to do it anyway. Curtis has sued on that basis, but I don't know how far he's got with that. So yes, they can actually, that can go badly. So yeah, it sucks. Alex Young, I completed my DS260 on the 5th of May. I'm 2026 OC 500 range, Sydney Consulate, single male. Is it strange I haven't received my 2NL? It says completed, but but when I hover over my completed application, it says completed after all documents uploaded to KCC. There are no documents to upload to KCC. I was understanding that I didn't need to upload anything to that form. Thanks again for what you do. Yeah, it's not particularly unusual, Alex. You completed on the 5th of May and you're from Australia. Yeah, it's a little bit weird, but it's probably to do with Sydney Consulate. If I were you, I would email KCC and check that your DS260 is processed. That's the only thing that you can do, really. And then just be patient. It happens sometimes. Some of the consulates don't take cases every single month. Okay. How hard is it to get a job once get in the USA? It's a bit hard, I have to say. There are some people who are struggling with employment. The economy here is being kind of ruined at the moment by Trump and everything the current administration are doing. They're doing damage that we haven't even seen the effects properly come through yet. Unemployment is rising. The jobs report this week was not encouraging at all. Unemployment rate is about 4.3%. It used to be in the threes under the Biden administration. So unemployment is getting worse. The tariffs have predictably started to raise prices. There are lots of people who are struggling badly because of the tariffs. There are farmers who voted for Trump and now they're losing their minds because they're losing their farms. There's all sorts of chaos going on. So the economy at the moment is weaker than it normally would be. It's not a great time to come here for, to try find a job. But that doesn't mean that you can't find a job. It just means you've got to be a bit humble in the job that you take. But that's kind of normal for a new immigrant anyway, right? So it's probably going to be okay for most people coming here as new immigrants because your expectation is a little bit lower than Americans, right? And so, you should be okay. Okay. Hi, Simon. My case is current, and I had just changed changed a new passport as other passport to and had oh god. As my other passport had a different place of birth, different from my birth certificate. Can I unlock to put the new passport info? Why did it have a different place of birth? That's weird. It should match what's on your birth certificate, right? So, yes, unlock and make sure your DS260 is accurate. But I would question why, why your passport has changed the information there. It seems a bit weird. Lemek, honest speaking, you suit to be an immigration lawyer. Yeah, it's too late. I'm not interested in studying again to be an immigration lawyer. Thank you. Do you check the DV lottery photos to know if it has meet the DV lottery requirements? My new app is going to do that. It's got 47 separate checks. We're using AI to go through a list of checks that no other photo app does, specifically checking against the DV lottery rules. So yeah, we're going to check all those things and get the best possible photo in terms of meeting all the rules. That's why I'm excited about it, because a lot of people are just getting excluded from the lottery because of their photos. A lot of people, probably about half the cases. People don't understand how big a problem this is, but I do. And I can show you, I can prove why I know that to be the case. Anyway, okay. So Simon, is being unemployed for years can cause a problem on the interview or PN? I don't know what PN means. DS260 processing. It can be a problem if you've consistently been unable to find work, etc. Then the consular officer could be concerned, well, how are you going to survive in America? So yeah, you do need to put some thought into that. That's where an I-134 can sometimes be useful to show the consular officer that you won't be without support, that you'll be supported by someone here. Okay, so you want to think about that. Okay, 2 more questions. Let's just take a couple more here. Bula, sir. Bula to you indeed. DV25 when here, Suva Embassy kept my passport and they are waiting for the police clearance to be received. I've done this a month ago. Is this a good sign that they kept my passport? Yeah, sort of a good sign. It doesn't mean if they give the passport back, it doesn't mean that you're going to be refused, but it's sort of a good sign that they kept your passport. Standard procedure, really. S3 VRT. Hi, Simon, with DV27 potentially coming up, would it be an issue if I'm unable to include a photo of one of my children on the application? There's issues with son's mother, so I won't get updated pic. Don't even bother entering. Literally don't bother entering. If you can't get all of the photos for your derivatives, don't even enter. What's worse? You tell me what's worse. Let's say you enter the lottery, you're unable to get that photo of your son because of your ex-wife or whatever, and you enter the lottery and you win. But then you contact me and I say to you, don't proceed because you broke the rules and you will be disqualified. Is it better to know that you screwed up so badly that you entered the lottery, you were chosen, but then you cannot proceed, right? Is that worse? I think that's worse personally than not entering the lottery at all. So I would say don't even enter the lottery unless you can follow the instructions. Critical instructions are marital status. You've got to tell the truth. If you're married, you've got to enter as married. If you're single, you've got to enter as single. You cannot bullshit on these things. If you've got a spouse and 2 kids or whatever it is, you need the photos of the spouse and the 2 kids. If you've got a baby that won't sit still for a photo, you've got to find a way of taking that photo. If your son is off at college or something and you can't get a photo, you have to have that photo. Okay? My photo app will make that a little bit easier because all your son will need to do is take a selfie and send you the selfie. You'll be able to process the photo through my app. But you got to take this seriously. Otherwise, don't even enter at all. Right? That would be my advice. Okay. Okay, everybody. One last question. I think it's important. Do I have to pay anything while I'm applying? No, you don't. This is a free process. There are some places like in Nepal, for example, there are some agencies that help people for a few dollars. They help people actually enter the lottery. There's a good agent in Europe, Dreams something. I'll talk to them. I'll talk about them another time. Just realized I don't know the proper name of that company, but they're a good one in Europe. There are some agents that are good and helpful and charge a fair price for the service of making sure people have entered the lottery correctly. However, in general, you don't have to pay anything at all. You can enter the lottery by yourself. You can take a photo by yourself. You can use an app like mine to make sure that's a good photo. Yes, that will cost you a few bucks. Or you can do it without using that app, but the risk is a bit higher. So you can enter the lottery totally without spending any money. You don't have to pay anything to enter the lottery. And in general, certainly in some of these African countries in particular, where some agents take advantage of people, don't go to those guys, right? Don't use those sort of those bad agents. That would be a bad idea because they're gonna rip you off later. Basically, is what's going to happen. But yeah, it's a free lottery to enter, right? Okay, everybody. If you've got any questions, just come. There you go. There's my website name. If you've got any questions, you'd like me to ask any further questions that I couldn't get to today, go to BritSimonSays.com and ask the question there, and I will personally answer that question. Other than that, good luck. We've got 3 more weeks of DV25. DV26 will start on October 1st. Some of you are already scheduled. I hope it's going to be a better year. Fingers crossed. All right, everybody. Bye-bye now.